What the fuck is up, juggalos? This is the Murder Mayhem Show. I'm the host, Mitchell, and today, oh yes, today, we're going to get into it. Yes, as you know, or you better fucking should know, or I don't even know what planet you're on. The new album, Fearless Fred fucking Fury. Yes, Red Fred, that shit dropped on Friday. And as you can imagine, I have plenty of thoughts about the album. I listened to it as soon as I possibly could. I was hitting refresh on Spotify all Thursday night, just waiting for the shit to update. As soon as it did, I listened to that shit streaming right away, start to finish. It was quite an experience. We're going to get into it, track by track, of course. But the next day, the very next morning, I went to record store as soon as I possibly could, picked up the physical CD. I would be remiss if we didn't go over the packaging just a little bit. I want to try to get through this quickly because I would rather talk about the music, but we have the Fearless Fred Fury slipcase here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the Fearless Fred Fury slipcase has the image of Fred on the front against a black background. You take the CD case out of the slipcover. You see the booklet here, cover of which says Fearless Fred Fury, Insane Clown Posse. Got a picture of Fred here. You open it up. There is the code for Flip the Rat so that you can purchase Flip the Rat on psychopathicmerch.com. I would show you what the CD looks like, but it is currently in my car. Take the booklet out of here. And on the first page of the booklet, you've got the introduction. This is just a word-for-word transcribe of the intro of Fred Fury. We'll get into that a little bit later, of course. You also have all the lyrics to every song on the album. I thought that was pretty fucking cool. I didn't expect that. I'll definitely be referring to that many times in the future as I listen to the album. There's a lot of photos here of Jay and Shaggy looking cool as fuck. You can see that if you're watching this on YouTube. Flip the pages here. And the most exciting part of all psychopathic booklets for new releases to me is the announcements of the upcoming projects. And here we have an ad for something called Strums and Drums Acoustic Sessions. It says coming soon. So this is surely inspired by the acoustic set that ICP did at Ballers. A lot of people who were there said it was awesome, a great performance. I'm really curious to hear what that sounds like. I was not there at Ballers, so that'll be helpful for people like us who were not able to make it. I'm very curious how that's going to sound. We also have advertisements for upcoming vinyls coming up. I'm not a vinyl collector myself, but I do think that Wizard of the Hood looks pretty nifty. If I were a vinyl person, that would be the one I have my eye on. There's also The Tempest, Fuck Off, Forgotten Freshness, a few others. Release dates on each of those. Then we have some best ofs coming out, it looks like. The first of which is Supervillains. This isn't vinyl anymore. This is just the next advertisement. Supervillains best of. There's also ads for ICP's funniest shit ever, most unusual shit, and ICP's greatest stories. So there's release dates on all those. Here's what I gotta say right off the bat, though. Why are we advertising so many new projects when there's already a whole backlog of projects that have been announced that we haven't heard shit about? It would be nice if there was something in here about Looney Goons or Shaggy's book or the John Kick Jazz documentary. Instead, they just keep piling more projects onto the pile. But regardless, I'm looking forward to checking out that acoustic thing for sure. So you flip through the booklet further, there's more photos of Jay and Shaggy. And then finally the credits, of course, for each song. We'll be going through that. And then the thank yous at the end with dedicated to the butterfly, as always. So that's pretty much the booklet in a nutshell. Now, the important part, the part that we're all here to truly talk about. The album, Fearless Fred Fury, Red Fred. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this shit is hard as fuck. I love it. I had a great time listening to it. I like it a lot. It's almost totally and completely everything that I wanted this album to be in so many ways. Let's get into it, starting with the first track, the introduction. It's a spooky voice, deep voice guy. They call him, or they in the credits, they call in the booklet, they call him Voice Guy, which is kind of a shame. I actually kind of wanted to know who that is. I still want to know who that is, but they kept it mysterious style, Voice Guy. And the intro is just a straight up explanation of Fred Fury. I know that the Mighty Death Pop intro was a skit that kind of set that up, and then you had Jay and Shaggy on that kind of explaining what was going on. This one is more similar to the Mighty Death Pop, the Missing Link. This one is more similar to the Missing Link intro in that it's just spoken word explanation. It's creepy as fuck sounding. Whoever Voice Guy is really nailed it. He did a great job. And I had Fearless Fred Fury all wrong, the character. See, going into this shit, I thought I had it all figured out just based on interviews with ICP and the singles that had dropped and Violent J's motivational speech at the gathering, stuff like that. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought Fearless Fred Fury was the cheerleader. I thought he was the guy that whips you into shape, gets you pumped up, hyped, gets you hyped to fight back, and, really gasses you up, motivates you, inspires you. As it turns out, nothing could be quite further from the truth. Fred Fury, in fact, is the guy beating you down. He is the personification of your regrets, your fears, your insecurities. He is all that balled into one horrible monster who socks you in the face with his 6'5" fist, beats your ass. It's up to you to stand up, fight back, show him what's up. And I love it. It's such a great concept. It's one of the best concepts they've ever done. I'm probably going to go ahead and say the best concept of this deck. Really awesome. I like it a lot. I feel like it's dropping at a perfect time for me personally. It's exactly the kind of message that I needed to hear. And this intro really sets the tone of the album up really well. It's creepy, scary, sounds like a horror movie. That's pretty much sums up the whole sound of Fred Fury. So, intro, good stuff. I like it. According to the notes here, it was produced by Straight Jacket. So, good job to him. Next track, number 2, Red Fred. This is the title track that we always see these on each Joker's card. And for this deck, most of the time, so far, I would say, that has been like a full-blown song. Like in the first deck of Joker's cards, like Carnival of Carnage, it's, just Carnival of Carnage, Carnival of Carnage, just repeating. Riddlebox, of course, joke's on you, Riddlebox, and then a spoken word kind of explains a little bit about what Riddlebox is about, as opposed to, say, a Bang Pow Boom or a Mighty Death Pop. Those are like full-blown songs with hooks and everything. This I would call more of a throwback style. This Red Fred reminded me more of the old school title tracks, and I like the new ones. They're good too, but this felt like a throwback, so that was fun. This is produced by DJ Mysterioso, according to the booklet, and I don't know who the fuck that is. Clearly, whoever he is has chosen his name, DJ Mysterioso, as almost a taunt. He's challenging you to wonder who the fuck it is, and it's totally working on me because I would love to know. I have my theory, unless you know better than I do. My theory is that it's an alias for Shaggy, like how we all know that Violent J is Dr. Punch whenever he's credited as a producer. The Violent J calls himself Dr. Punch. I'm wondering if DJ Mysterioso is none other than Mr. Shaggy Tudo, but who knows? Either way, Red Fred, good solid setup track. It's not really what I would call a full-blown song on its own. I mean, it's got a sing-songy quality to it, sure, but it's not like a big full-out blown production like Mighty Death Pop or Bang Pow Boom was, but good stuff. I like it. Sets it up, sets the tone. That's track number 2, Red Fred. Number 3, Fury. Now, we all heard Fury, probably. Most of us, I assume. I did. I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for you. Heard Fury when that dropped as a single, and I loved that song when it came out, and I still do love that song. That's a good one. Fury, big fan. Totally different kind of style from ICP than we've ever heard before. There's a lot of quick raps, complex rhymes, great bars. That's good. What's interesting about this version of Fury is it is now the third version of Fury that we've heard, because there was the initial single, and then when they released the music video for Fury, there was some small, subtle tweaks to the production. They had added some live drums, it sounded like, before the final hook. The very beginning was also a little bit different as well, so it was slightly tweaked, but nothing that would probably change your opinion of the song. Here on the album, we have more of a drastic tweak. It's so much so that I don't even know if tweak is the right word. And what they have done is they added a Willoughby Rags interlude into part of the song, and here's my logic on that. I don't think it does a whole lot of good to add something as drastic as that, because all you stand to do is turn people off. Like, follow my train of thought on this. There's going to be people that liked the song when it came out, and then they hear it on the album and they like the interlude, and so they've gone from liking the song to continuing to like the song. That's all good. That's all gravy. Then you're going to have people that liked the song when it came out and don't like the interlude, and now the song has lost something for them. But what you're going to have zero of are people who didn't like the song and now like it now that they've added the interlude. You see what I mean? There's probably not many or any people that listened to the song when it dropped and said, you know, I don't really like this song, but if only it had an interlude, then it would be my shit. There probably weren't a lot of people saying that. So all you can do when you make a tweak like that is turn people off. But it doesn't bother me, aside from the fact that I'm not used to it. Like, if it would have dropped that way from the start with the Willoughby Rags in there, I probably would have just been like, shit, yeah, Willoughby Rags, this is awesome. But because I'm not used to it, it's like kind of jarring when he pops up, but it's all good. The only thing that hits my ear weirdly about it is I'm not used to it, but still a good song. Fury, love it. It's a good one. Really sets up what Fred Fury is all about. According to the liner notes here, that was music by Seven. So, good job to Seven. First appearance of Seven on the album. There is a number of producers on the Fred Fury project. We will get to all of them as we get on the track list. Fury, great song. Track number 3. Next track, number 4, West Werner Ave. I like this one a lot. Beat starts out as one thing, does a lot of shifts throughout the song, and that's something that we see a lot on the Fred Fury album. A beat that changes drastically either during the hook or during a bridge or whatnot, and West Werner Ave is kind of the first taste of that, because it starts out one thing. When you get to the hook, it becomes an interpolation of Electric Avenue, So if you don't know the song Electric Avenue, give that a Googling. You'll see what that's all about. But it works for me. I like it. It's a story song. It's mostly Shaggy. There is some appearances by Violent J doing some funny singing shit. It's about Shaggy drive-by, goes down at his house, blows his girl's head off. So they gotta ride down to West Verner Avenue and open fucking fire. Find out who did that shit. Take their revenge. It's a good one. I like it. Typical ICP in tone. Music-wise, I wouldn't say it sounds like ICP. I wouldn't say that, or, I always hate when people say that. This doesn't sound like ICP. Well, fuck. If it's coming out of ICP's mouth, then how could it sound like anything else? But for lack of a better way of putting it, nothing on this whole entire CD sounds anything like anything that ICP has done before, if you ask me. So this track, a departure, a new style. So if this is your first listen to Fred Fury, this is one that you're probably kind of adjusting your ear to the sounds, but I think it's a very strong one to put up close to the top of the track list. So West Verner Ave, I dig it. Liner notes here say music by Mike P. and Straight Jacket. So Mike P., Juggalo favorite. We all, of course, have been knowing and loving him since the Shangri-La album. So good job to them. I dig it. It's one of my favorites on the whole album, as a matter of fact. So West Verner Ave, that's track 4. Next track, number 5. What the fuck? We all know this one, WTF. The first single, of course, that dropped from Fred Fury. Now, when WTF initially dropped as the first single, I was a little lukewarm on it. I didn't think it was a very strong lead single, so since it was the first taste, the first thing that we heard from the entire Fred Fury album, I was a little bit skittish at the time. I never said it sucked, never said it was shit, never said it was trash, but I always maintained it was like mediocre. So I was curious to hear how it fit with the whole entire album, and now that I've heard it in context of the entire album, I do think it steps it up a little bit more. Something I complained about when it first came out was that the beat was too crazy, or really that the whole song was too crazy. The chorus kind of seemed like a mess. Verses felt a little sloppy to me, but in context of the whole entire album, I feel like it fits pretty well. I would go as far as to say that I think it's the weakest song on the whole album. So that actually kind of worked out for me, because when I heard that as the first single, I was like, uh-oh. is this going to be a mediocre album? But as it turns out, if you ask me, it's probably the weakest on the album. So it was all uphill from there. And it works. I don't hate the song by any means, but it's probably not one of the go-tos that I'm going to be revisiting unless I'm listening to the entire album, unless I'm doing an entire start to finish run through. It's probably not one that I'll be going to too much, but it works. It fits the concept. Music by Seven, Dr. Punch, and Straight Jacket. So Seven and Dr. Punch, which Dr. Punch is Violent J, of course. This beat, actually, if I recall, reuses some of the beat of one of those giveaway songs. I don't remember off the top of my head, either cuss word or bleep. I get those songs confused. The point is, the song reuses portions of the beat of a previously released song, so that's kind of an interesting bit of trivia, or it would be if I remembered all the details to it, but you know what I'm talking about. That's track number 5, WTF. Number 6, Satellite. This is an interesting one. I like it a lot. It is one of the softer songs on the whole album, and it's the first on the track list to go that soft. Up to this point, it's all been fairly ruthless and hard-hitting. It's number 6, Satellite. It's more of an upbeat one of those positivity bangers that ICP likes to do from time to time. This is about satelliting your problems, as they call it, as they've coined the expression, having the sight of a satellite, having the big picture view on your problems, not getting hung up on the small day-to-day bullshit of daily life. That's what that song is about. I like it. It actually sounded to me like if there's any track on this whole CD that remotely has any mainstream appeal, I would think it would be this one. It kind of sounded like Dizzy Wright. That's what it reminded me of all things. Like, I think you could slip a Dizzy Wright verse in there and it would fit right in. Like, that's like musically and just conceptually, it kind of reminded me of Dizzy Wright. And I like Dizzy Wright, so I mean that in a positive way. Satellite, that's a good one. I dig it. Music by Seven. So another appearance of Seven there. Good one. Good track. It's number 6, Satellite. Number 7, Seriously Hilarious. Now here's where we start dipping into the controversial, if you ask me. Now, this song is a lot about people who act like ICP is a joke, people who don't give them their respect, just write them off as a couple of fucking assholes, which happens all the time in the media. We've seen this all the time, constantly. People just joking about ICP, not taking them seriously at all. And this song is kind of a big fuck you to those people. But what caught my ear is that there's a verse in there that I feel is directed at a specific artist. And I don't particularly want to say his name because I don't want to stir that pot. This is an artist I'm a big fan of. The whole line about like rappers that use juggalos to get to the top and then distance themselves publicly, I feel like that was directed at a specific person, and I thought that ICP was cool with this person, but maybe there's still some resentment in there, because I've heard them make this same comment about somebody in the past, so when I hear it in this song, it's like, okay, I feel like you're talking about somebody in particular. You can do the math on that, I think, but there's also stuff in there about, it's something along the lines of like, I could make 9/10 of that guest list into a hit list. That's clearly a reference to the Juggalo March and the people who didn't show up to the Juggalo March. He doesn't say Juggalo March in the song, but that's obviously what he's talking about. And he says something about how nobody famous used their fame for the cause. So clearly some bitterness there from Violent J about that, but it's a great song. I like it a lot. It's a good one. It's dark. It's wicked. Scary. Fucking aggressive. Hard-hitting. Everything that you would expect from Fearless Fred Fury album. So that's a good one. I like it. Seriously Hilarious. That is music by DJ Mysterioso, Dr. Punch, and Straight Jacket. So if you ask me, I'm speculating that means Shaggy and Jay and Straight Jacket. But that is purely speculation on my part on the Shaggy tip. That's track 7, Seriously Hilarious. I like it. Good stuff. Number 8, Game Over. This is a great one. I like this one a lot, and I've seen a lot of people on social media singling this one out as a great one. This is produced by Devereaux, which, if you're not familiar with Devereaux, then you probably didn't listen to Gutter Water, because Gutter Water, the Ouija Mac album, has Devereaux all over it. And he's one of Ouija's primary producers, but he also did some tracks with ICP. He's done, what's it called? I Can't, off the Willoughby Rags Magical Bag of Poop EP that was dropped at The Gathering last year. Definitely the best song on that EP. He also did the Mr. Clean song that was given out at Big Ballers. So he's done a few ICP tracks already, but This one, by far, his best that he's done with ICP, for sure. It's great. It's a great song. I actually had Devereaux on my show, on the Murder Mayhem show recently, and he played that shit close to the vest, because I did not see that coming. I had no idea that he had a fucking song on here, but I realized in retrospect that he teased it. I don't remember if that was part of the interview or if that was after I stopped recording, but he made mention of the fact when I was talking to him, he said the heat is coming. That's what he said. Now I know he was talking about this. I had no idea. He played that shit close to the vest, as well he should, because I'm sure that if he would have slipped out any details about Fred Fury before it was time, then he would have had his ass handed to him. That's quite an accomplishment. He's only 24 years old, and he's fucking producing on a Joker's card with a badass song that most everybody seems to really like. The concept is video game addiction. I would have never expected ICP to make such a song about this topic, but it really grabbed me because I've complained about myself publicly many times before that my distraction with video games is often got in the way of me achieving my goals. Like, even with this very show, with the Murder Mayhem show, it's like, man, I could probably be pushing this harder. I could be working it harder if I didn't spend so much fucking time playing old-ass video games. So that was already a flaw in myself that I've been having on my mind. Like, man, if I really want to fucking make all my dreams come true, I'm going to have to just drastically reduce this aspect out of my life. So when I heard this song, it really spoke to me. Now, I'm not as fucked up as the guy in the song, keeping piss and shit in jars and whatnot. I don't live with my mom. I'm fucking doing great on my own. But the point was made so exaggerated, so over the top, that it still spoke to me. That's a great song, too. It's got all those video game sound effects in there. That had to be a tough song to even create. It's good premise, good execution. Definitely a winner. Definitely one of the top ones that will be in my permanent rotation for life. That's track number 8, Game Over by Devereaux. Number 9, next track, Night of Red Rum. This is number 4 now in the Night of saga. We, of course, have Night of the Axe, Night of the 44, Night of the Chainsaw, now Night of Red Rum. And just like those 3 songs, this one is fucking awesome. It's a lot different from those other songs because those other ones were focused around a specific weapon. Obviously, the axe, the 44, and the chainsaw. This is more just like a night of drinking and killing. Just killing any way you can get it. It's fucking a bloody-ass track. It's wicked as hell. Scary, dark, high energy, ruthless. Everything I was hoping for in a Fred Fury track. I like it a lot. That's definitely a good one. That is music by Seven. So welcome, Seven, into the Night of family. You are now cemented that much more into Juggalo lore. And something that I noticed fairly recently, as in right before recording this video, while I was looking at the booklet, is that they leave track 10 out of the booklet. The next track, number 10, Low, there is no credits for. So no telling what's up with that, a misprint or whatever. But either way, no idea who produced that track. But you can tell just by listening to it that the beat is a sample of the song Time of the Season. Also sampled by Necro and Eminem in the past, so that's kind of what that made me think of. I would have to say that Low is on the low end of the spectrum, no pun intended. It's probably between that and WTF for what I would consider the weakest of the album. Not one of my favorites yet, but we're still early in the relationship with Fred Fury, so give it some time, maybe it'll grow on me, but I wasn't really digging it. It has a major beat switch up. It goes from Time of the Season to some whole other shit, so it's just kind of a weird song. It's not super duper for me, but it is what it is. That's track number 10, Low, produced by I have no idea who because it is not in the booklet. Track number 11, Triplex. This is a fat one. Pretty high concept stuff. You got Shaggy as a psychiatrist, it sounds like. He's counseling one morbid man. As the song goes, there's Violent J playing would seem to be a schizophrenic character, 3 personalities, 3 murderers, 1 morbid man, triplex of violence. That's a good one. Pretty high concept stuff. If I had to make one small, tiny nitpick criticism about the song, it's that I feel like it goes back and forth from the verses to the talking a little too much. Like, Violent J does a few bars, and then it's Shaggy setting up the next few bars, and then Violent J does a few more bars, and then it goes back to Shaggy talking again. It's like, I wish there was a few more bars in between each setup, but it's all good. It's a good song anyway. That is music by Mike P. So definitely some good credit to Mike P. That is a good beat, scary, spooky song. Sounds like a concept that they would have done back in the day. Sounds like an old school concept, so that's definitely a winner. Track 12, Nobody's Fault. I think this will be a divisive one. I think this will maybe be the one song that people might point to and say, I like the whole album except that one. I'm not saying that at all because I love that song. It's for sure the softest track on the whole Fred Fury CD, but it works. It really fucking works. It's maybe one of the softest tracks of this whole, really of ICP's career. But as far as this deck of cards go, one of the best soft tracks compared to things like Miracles. I would call this song way better than Miracles. It's not even, I mean, it's an interesting thing because it's like, it's depressing, it's sad, it's a lot of Violent J shitting on himself or this character that he's portraying. Very negative, shitting on yourself, something we can all relate to. But I also find it empowering because the whole hook is, it's nobody's fault but mine. That's like an empowering premise because if all your problems are nobody's fault but your own, that means you have the power to fix them. So it's an interesting thing. There's a lot to chew on there if you ask me. And it's just a great song. It sounds good. I like the verses. I really like the hook a lot. So as soft as it is, it fucking works, which is always a dicey fucking game. Like if they would have asked me, I don't know why the fuck they would, but if they would have asked me before the recording process, I would say, don't even go there. Keep it hard. Keep it wicked from start to finish. That's the safe play. A track like Nobody's Fault on an album like this is kind of a gamble, but I think it works. I like it a lot. One of my tops on the album, I would say. Music by 7, so that explains why the music is so awesome. I like that beat a lot, especially when the hook kicks in. Sounds good. Next track, number 13, Hothead. This is the one that I give what I call the most forgettable award. Now, that is not even a diss. Sounds like a diss. It's not a diss. Hear me out. If the song sucked, it would not be forgettable. It would be the one that I remember for sucking. Instead, it's like, for some reason, every time that one comes on all my playthroughs so far, I tune out or space out, or it doesn't grab me enough for me to really pay full attention to. So, could be a great song. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what it's about yet, but that's cool. That just means that it's still fresh. I can still have get a lot more plays out of it because I couldn't tell you what it's about, but it sounds fine. Like I said, if it sucked, I would have noticed it for sucking. So the fact that I haven't fully given it my undivided attention yet is not necessarily a insult. It could be a great song for all I know, but I don't have a lot to say about it at this juncture. Music by 7, so all the more to its credit. 7 always does good work. Next track, number 14, Shimmer. This is a story song. It's again kind of a throwback concept, I would say. It sounds like a premise that they would have done back in the day. A boy finds a ghost in the closet, scares him, prays to God for help. Eventually he goes in the closet, faces his fear of the ghost, and his bravery is indeed what defeats the ghost. Very in line with the Fearless Fred Fury premise. Very on brand. I believe the last line of the song is something along the lines of, I can't help but feel my bravery was rewarded. That's classic Fred Fury. That's exactly what the whole album is about, so that works. It has a little intro by Violent JJ, so when you hear that boy's voice at the start of the song, that is none other than Violent J's son, JJ. Kind of sets up the tone. It lets you know that we're dealing with the perspective of a young boy. So it's an alright song. It's a little too rock and roll for my taste. I like things a little more hip hoppy, but it's not a bad song by any means. But I would probably throw it in the category of one that I'm not going to be repeatedly listening to unless I'm doing a full album listen. But I mean, it's by no means a skipper. Like, this whole album from top to bottom, you can listen to every single track easily and have a great time doing it. But it's a little bit on the rock and rollish side for me. It's long. That's another thing that I like about every track on this CD is they're long. There's no throwaways. Sometimes you listen to an album and there's a track that's like 2 minutes long. And I mean, ICP even does that a lot too. But even those songs are good. Don't get me wrong. Those shortens are good ones, but I like a good, long, meaty song. And every track on Fred Fury is at least 3 minutes, but usually 4 or even 5 minutes, and some even go as long as 6 minutes. So that's good. I like that the whole album has a lot of meat on the bone. And track number 14 is just one of those examples. That's Shimmer. Number 14, music by Kuma. Good job by Kuma. It's a very big sounding song. That's another thing about the Fred Fury sound, I would say. It's very big production, very full, a lot of instrumentation on each track. So definitely credit to Kuma on that one. It's a good one. Next track, number 15, Freedom, which is mistakenly labeled in the book as track 6 for some fucking reason. It's classic psychopathic style typos. What are you going to do? Number 6, when you look at the booklet, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. Skipping over number 10, 12, 13, 14, 6, 16, 17. So either way, track number 15, Freedom, another softer tune. Now, this is an interesting one because it has the vibe of a closing track. And in fact, it was even said before Fred Fury came out that there was this track and then there was one more track. Like, the way they set it up was like before the actual last track of the album is the closer, and then if you want to continue to listen to the actual final track of the album, then that's on you. We'll get into that track next, of course, but point being, Freedom is the one that sounds like what we typically think of as an ICP closer. It's one of the more upbeat ones, this particular one. I love this song a lot. It's really good. Definitely one of the tops on the album. It's very inspirational. Thematically, it's similar to the song The World Is Yours on Found, which I listen to that song a lot on Found, and I don't really like it that much. I listen to it a lot on Found because I like the concept so much. This whole thing about, like, the world is yours, you're free to do whatever you want to do. So when I heard the song Freedom on Fred Fury, my first thought was like, oh good, now I don't have to listen to The World Is Yours anymore, because now here we have a song with the same great premise, only executed much, much better if you ask me. It's a little more sing-songy than rappy, but it works. I love it. It's definitely a banger. That is music by Kuma. So once again, we have another big, full sound there. Freedom. Now, here's where things start to get super duper interesting. The next track, number 16, Beware. This isn't even a song. This is merely an interlude, once again by Voice Guy. He's credited in the credits as Voice Guy. It's the same voice as the intro, same spooky, scary voice, same spooky, scary instrumentation playing in the background. And the Voice Guy here, he warns that the next track, I Like It Rough, is possibly the most disturbing of ICP's entire career. Now, this is a real thinker. Is it the most disturbing song of ICP's career? I'm going to say it damn sure might be. I mean, shit. You tell me a more disturbing one. I can't think of one off the top of my head. And they describe it in the interlude there in Beware as extreme sexual violence or some shit like that. And man, oh man, is it ever. Track number 17, I Like It Rough. It is some dark shit. It's a lot to unpack. I don't know exactly what's going on in the song because it's a dirty sex track, but Violent J is referring to the girl in the song all throughout as Runaway. That's fucking dark because that doesn't sound like we're talking about a full-grown woman. When you hear the word runaway, that doesn't sound like an 18-year-old. If an 18-year-old runaway is just called moving out of the house. When you use the word runaway, it sounds like we're talking about minors here. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but it is quite brutal. There's a lot of sadomasochism happening. There's a lot of choke me talk. There's a lot of I'll choke you talk. There's a lot of just like peeing on the face. There's the word rape is thrown in there in the mix. So it gets pretty damn gnarly. It's an epically long one as well. It's 6 minutes, something like that. And I've seen some discussion about this on Twitter. So, how does it work as a closer? Seems to be the topic of conversation. And I gotta say, I think it works. I like this one a lot. It's weird as a closer. It's not at all like any closer we've ever had on an ICP album before. Again, that would be Freedom, would be more like the one that you would think would be the closer, but Freedom is too soft to end an album as crazy as this. As ruthlessly wicked as this album is, it needs something as crazy as I Like It Rough to end it out. That's the one that's going to leave you walking away from the album saying, man, what a fucked up ride that was. Freedom is like, you can't end an album like this on a positive note. I don't think. It would seem weird to me. It wouldn't fit. Wouldn't be right. So, usually when ICP does a sex song, it's like the funny track. It's usually silly. It's usually goofy. Cartoonish, one might say. Ain't nothing funny about, ain't nothing funny about this shit, except for it still is kind of funny, because every ICP song has some jokes in it, but overall, this ain't fucking I Stuck Her With My Wang. This ain't fucking Cotton Candy. This ain't Super Balls. This ain't Love Song. This ain't Another Love Song. This ain't Boing Boing. This ain't Help Me Out Here. I Fucked a Cop. This ain't Fat Sweaty Betty. This ain't you get the idea. This is some fucking whole other shit, and it's fitting for this type of album. So I like it. It works. I dig it. I've seen mixed feelings about that song on the internet, but I like it. If you ask me, it's a good one. It's a good song, and it's a good one to close on. It works. And that is produced by Straight Jacket, so got to give him credit on that one. I like it. That kind of sums up all my overall feelings of each individual track on Fred Fury. I think one of the most prominent conversations that we're bound to have about this album is where does it stack up both against the original deck of Joker's cards and this current deck of Joker's cards. Now, if you ask me, Joker's cards 1 through 5 of the first deck, untouchable, will probably never be beaten in my lifetime. I don't think I'll ever hear an album as good as fucking Riddlebox again in my life, or Malenko, or Jekyll Brothers, or Ringmaster. Those are just untouchable. I mean, if something came along as good as those albums, I would say so. I would say, hey, that shit is just as good as Riddle Box. I don't see that happening in my lifetime, only because those albums are so fucking spotlessly perfect. So, for me to say, oh, well, this isn't as good as Riddle Box, I mean, that's almost a meaningless comment. That's akin to saying, well, this isn't the greatest piece of art ever created. Which is like, okay, well, most things aren't. And for me personally, Jekyll Brothers is my personal favorite ICP CD of all time, but Riddlebox, Ringmaster, Malenko, Jekyll Brothers, and I'm also going to include Carnival of Carnage in that mix. Perfect albums. Is it as good as those? Whatever could be. So when I say it's not as good as those, don't take that as an insult by any means, but no, it can't quite hang with them. Shangri-La? Maybe. Now, I don't personally think Shangri-La is that fucking great, to be perfectly honest with you. I like Fred Fury a lot, so we're kind of just going to have to see where it lands in the test of time, but I like Shangri-La a lot, but Fred Fury is a little more what I was looking for at this stage of my life. I like the fucking hardcore, beat 'em up, ruthless, wicked murder shit. So, I don't know. Better than Shangri-La? I'll have to get back to you on that one. You're probably already fucking screaming at your computer for me even considering such a thing. I know Shangri-La is beloved. I love it as well. I'm right there with you on it. But Fred Fury, man, this shit is so fucking hard. I'll go ahead and say I don't think it's as good as Hell's Pit. I like Hell's Pit a lot as well, more than I like Shangri-La even, so I'd probably put it somewhere between Shangri-La and Hell's Pit. As far as this deck goes, where does it land? Well, to me, Mighty Death Pop is the undisputed king of this deck, and so far it is unchallenged. That's where I land on that. It doesn't top Mighty Death Pop for the number one spot of this deck, if you ask me, but Mighty Death Pop is nearly flawless to me. Like, it feels in a lot of ways that it was made just for me. I really latched onto that album a lot, really connected with it emotionally, still do, still love it so much, very much. Love Mighty Death Pop, big fan. So, I don't think that Fred Fury is the new king in town. Compared to Bang Pow Boom, that's another close one. I can't say. I'm tempted to say yes, better than Bang Pow Boom. Once again, though, we run into the test of time. The problem here, it's like, well, I'm already endeared to Bang Pow Boom. It's been 10 years now, Jesus, since Bang Pow Boom, and I still bump the shit out of it, so maybe you'll have to get back to me in 10 years to see if Fred Fury stacks up like that, but I'm tempted to say yes. It's always kind of easy to say that the new thing is great because it's shiny and new and you want to love it. So right now I'm tempted to say, yeah, better than Bang Pow Boom, but we'll have that discussion again at a later date, I'm sure. Missing Link beats the hell out of Missing Link. I'm saying that unequivocally. As unequivocally as I said that it doesn't topple Death Pop, I'll say that it fucking stomps both of the Missing Link albums in a big way. And I think those Missing Link albums are fine. I've gone on record as saying that they're the weakest Joker's card for sure. And, I mean, but again, you got to remember when I say that one Joker's card is weaker than another, it's not even a diss because I hold them all in such high esteem that it's like, okay, they can't all be the best. One of them has to be the worst. And I would give that title to the Missing Link albums. I consider them both one unit, Lost and Found together. I personally liked Found a hell of a lot more than Lost, but still not the weakest. I call it the weakest. So Fred Fury, for me, definitely, like, the stakes were kind of high for me, like, after coming off of what I considered to be the weakest in ICP's entire catalog. I was anxious to see what they were going to bounce back with, and they fucking came back in a big bad way, crushed it, killed it, decimated it, slaughtered it, loved it. Fearless Fred Fury, big fan, glowing review if you ask me. Very, very nice work from everybody involved. Loved it. Definitely gotta put it high up there. High up on the list. Good stuff. Loved it. So that just about does it for my individual thoughts, I think. But another thing worth getting to is that on the Freakly Weekly infomercial that dropped before Fred Fury came out, it was mentioned that the name of the next Joker's card, number 5, of this deck, is mentioned on Fearless Fred Fury 8 times. The name of the next Joker's card is mentioned on Fred Fury 8 times. Now, that was something that I didn't think about. I just totally slipped my mind the first time I listened to Fred Fury, and I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. And then once I remembered about that, I started kind of listening for it, and I still don't have any great guesses. The best I can come up with is that it has something to do with brother, because it does play that Hulk Hogan drop a lot, brother. In fact, once I started noticing it, I started counting it, and I've noticed personally about 6 brothers, and there's probably more in there that I haven't thought to count once I started counting them, but there's at least 6. So I feel like brother has something to do with it, but surely the name of the next Joker's card isn't just brother. I did have a thought, though. I thought maybe Bloody Brothers, because they did mention at the ICP seminar last year that Bloody Brothers was coming, which was an old album that was announced a long time ago and ended up kind of becoming Boondocks. So the Bloody Brothers, as it was originally announced a long, long time ago, never came out. But at the seminar, they said that the Bloody Brothers was back in the works again. So I don't know. If the next Joker's card has something to do with brother and Bloody Brothers is on their radar of something that they want to work on, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. If you have any guesses better than that, I would love to hear them, because they certainly don't say Bloody Brothers on the album. So, I mean, brother might not have anything to do with it. I could be way off base. I'm just telling you the best guess that I have so far, and that's the best I can do. I have no answers for you. I'm definitely super excited to see what it is. You don't hardly ever hear, literally never, that I can think of. You never hear of ICP talking about their Joker's cards that far in advance. Anytime they're asked about the next Joker's card, as soon as one drops, they always just say, "We're living in the time of this one now." You know, we're living in the Fred Fury era, is what you would typically expect them to say, for instance. But not this time. This time they're already thinking way down the line. Not only that, but it has been officially confirmed that there is now a third deck of 5 more cards coming after these 6. So 665. That makes sense. That was pretty much what I always figured ever since the first image of Fred Fury came out with the 665 on the knuckles. Now we know what that means. 5 more cards coming after this 6. All 3 sets of which are going to end with another Shangri-La and Hell's Pit. This has all been straight from Violent J's mouth, so that is confirmed as factual. God only fucking knows how long that's going to take, but I'm loving it. Keep them fucking coming. You know, a lot of people say that there should have never been a second deck, and I disagree. I love it. I think it was brilliant. It's great. It's kept everybody's interest. It's kept the shit fun and exciting. Wanting to know what the next Joker's card is. That's fucking half the fun of being a juggalo. What's the next Joker's card? It's just not the same without that component. So I'm loving it. I'm loving the new deck. I'm excited for all the Joker's cards of this set to be completed, just so I can marathon them all from start to finish and really get a complete picture of this deck. And then, of course, when the third deck is completed, we're going to have so much shit to pull from to go back to for the rest of our lives, people. This album, Fearless Fred Fury, this is fucking lifetime music, man. It trips me out to think about, but the point is, I love this album, Fearless Fred Fury. I think it came out at a perfect time in my life. There's a lot of teachings in the music that I would like to personally put to use in my own life. All the shit about, just fucking getting your shit together. That's really the bottom line of this album. Fucking pull your head out of your ass, get your shit fucking together. And this is something that a lot of us needed to hear, and myself especially. I really have pulled a lot of meaning from it. I want to try to make the most of this era and really look back on the Fearless Fred era in my life in the future and be able to say that was a fucking great time for me. So I love the album. Good review as far as I'm concerned. And that's why it's so important to criticize things when they're not what you expected or not what you wanted. See, I get a lot of hate from people who think that I just talk shit all the time. And I don't. I don't at all. I try to keep every criticism I make of every Juggalo project constructive. I try to keep it constructive. And that means when something comes out that I don't love, I say, I don't think this is that good. Or if ICP makes a decision that I don't like, I say, I don't think they should have done that. That's how you know that I mean it when I say Fearless Fred Fury is the shit. Because if I didn't think it was the shit, I would say so. But you know that I'm keeping it real because I always do. So my love for Fearless Fred Fury is quite sincere. I definitely welcome it to the Joker's Card family. Now, speaking of things that I don't love, here we go. It's a good segue to a perfect example. When I bought the Fearless Fred Fury album, I bought it from the record store, and it included this little guy here, Flip the Rat. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm holding up the Flip the Rat album. It is, I guess it's a digipack, but it kind of folds out twice. Like it folds out again. There's no booklet. All the liner notes are printed directly on the packaging. If you're watching this on YouTube, yes, you might notice that I have the Hell's Cellar CD in the case. Flip the Rat, the actual CD is sitting on my computer, so disregard that. But you got this cool image of ICP here. And Flip the Rat, we got 12 songs. And some people are saying on Twitter that I've seen that they actually like Flip the Rat more than Fearless Fred Fury. And this, to me, is a real thinker. Because, I gotta say, not impressed. Yeah. Good, not great. Yeah. I could do without it. Yeah. It's fun to have in the collection. It's probably not something that I will repeatedly visit time and time again for years to come, the way that I will with Fred Fury. I'll definitely give it a few more go-arounds, just to really get into it. But as of now, I've only listened to it once, and I could take it or leave it, quite honestly. There's some all right stuff on here. I mean, Hungry, I thought that was a good track featuring Big Hoodoo. Friend Request, I thought was a funny song with a good beat. I liked it. And that kind of just about did it for me, to be honest. So, Flip the Rat, not any tracks on here that I would say that should have been on Fred Fury. So, take that review as you will. But, again, a lot of people are saying that they liked it better than Fred Fury. So, Don't take my dumbass word for it. Listen to this shit for yourself. Draw your own conclusions. I know that you do. That is the juggalo way. But for me personally, probably going to toss this one in the closet and not ever think about it again after I give it a few more listens, just to make sure. Because, sometimes I'll check something out and I'll think it's not for me, and then I'll come back to it later and realize I was an idiot. So, who knows? But I can't bitch about that. It's the fucking bonus CD. Fred Fury is what really matters, and that shit fucking delivered. So, I just want to say thank you to ICP, man. You've done it again. You always do. Even the CDs that I don't think are the best. Even the missing links. Even when Bang Pow Boom first came out and we were coming off of the first deck, and, it was so tempting to say, well, this isn't as good as the first deck. But what is? It was still awesome, and it still came out right on time. The Joker's cards always come out right on time. I mean, not literally. Fred Fury, that was quite literally delayed 4 months. That didn't come out right on time at all. But as far as emotionally and personally, it's always perfect. It's always a perfect time in my life for whatever message each Joker's card is delivering. And conceptually, Fred Fury, the best concept to this deck. I got to give it that credit. The whole fight back concept, best of this deck, easily, I would say. And that includes the Mighty Death Pop, which I've already told you how I feel about that. As far as the concept goes, and the character, and the look of it, it's so fucking awesome. Fearless Fred Fury really delivers. I love it. It's a great album. So, thank you, ICP. They fucking came out with a brand new style. They do it every time. I don't know how they do this shit. Every time ICP puts out a new Joker's card, I listen to it and I think, wow, well this is the last new style, because they couldn't possibly come out with yet another style. And then the next CD comes out and it's a whole brand new fucking style. And sometimes it's fucking awesome like this. Sometimes it's not as awesome, in my opinion, when it like the missing link. But the message is always fucking right on time. So I'm loving this deck of Joker's cards. Keep them coming. Do fucking 7 more decks as far as I'm concerned. Never stop. I don't care. It's all just a fantasy. You realize that, right, people? It's like this shit wasn't written in stone, handed down from cement tablets. 6 more Joker's cards, 5 more Joker's cards. They're just making this shit up as they go along. So who cares? Just enjoy how awesome it is. Enjoy the ride. I'm loving it. I think that about wraps it up. My thoughts and views on Fred Fury in the second deck. I've had a great time talking about it with y'all. So I appreciate you listening if you did. So I think that about wraps it up. Got some notes here, of course, the Murder Mayhem Show notes that we always save until the end. Follow me on all the social media pages. Find all that shit on murdermayhemshow.com, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Just go to murdermayhemshow.com. You'll find all the links easily. I want to give a little plug to my appearance on the East Coast Beast Host, Chuck Reeves, The Beard Speaks. Yes, I did a fairly thorough spot on Beard Speaks with Chuck. And we recorded it several weeks ago. I believe he actually just uploaded that on his channel fairly recently, so I don't know if he made any edits to it or anything. I haven't checked it out recently. It's been kind of a heavy news cycle right now, to say the least, but people tell me it's good. He said it turned out good. We talked our asses off just about juggalo shit, one topic after another, so peep that out. That'll be fairly entertaining. shout out to Chuck Reeves for having me on. I appreciate it. I'll be having Chuck Reeves on my show at some point too. That you bet your ass on that. So check that out. And I think that just about does it. And I'm going to end with this. You didn't see this coming. But I have my Flip the Rat download, or not download, but code here. My Flip the Rat code that allows you to purchase Flip the Rat on psychopathicmerch.com. I already own Flip the Rat, but it came with this code anyway. The Fred Fury album did, so I don't need it. I already own it. So I'm going to give you my Flip the Rat code, and it's first come, first serve. Anyone that wants to use this on Psychopathic Merch, you fucking go for it, because I'm not going to use it. This is my gift to you, the Murder Mayhem Show listeners. If you're in need of a Flip the Rat, or you just want an extra one, do with this what you will. First come, first serve. First one to use this code, it's all you. And the code is MVXCYN. MVXCYN. 6 characters there. MVXCYN. Put that in at Psychopathic Merch. It will allow you to order Flip the Rat. So have fun with that. If you go to use it and it's already been used, then you were too late. But I think that just about does it. I think that wraps it up. More thoughts to come on Fred Fury, I'm sure, for the rest of my life, quite honestly. I've been tweeting up a damn storm about it, so I'm definitely not done with this album by a long shot. Many years of spins. How many fucking years have I been playing the Great Malenko? 20 years? For fuck's sake. This shit isn't going away anytime soon. I'll be listening to this shit for life. So, thanks for listening. Until next time.